Hedge funds are always looking for ways to get people to invest in their products. And one of the new products, and one of the products that's been very popular recently are rated note feeders, which are a type of collateralized loan or collateralized debt obligation. And recently it's attracted the attention of the National Association of Insurance Commissioners. And so I think we should talk about it. So most companies involved in the financial markets are regulated on the national level, but insurance companies, by virtue of history, are a different animal. So each of the 50 states has their own insurance commissioner, and they determine the rules for that state and how much money an insurance company needs to have to pay off its policyholders and what types of money they can invest in while they're waiting. So insurance companies take in money from policyholders, and then they pay it out when there's a claim. And in the meantime, they get to play with the money, and they call that float. So even if you take in $100 and you pay out $100, the fact that you got to have the money as a interest-free loan for 5 or 6 years, during which time you can invest it, that's a very profitable business. But because the insurance commissioners tell you where you can invest the money and where you can't, it sometimes causes problems. And here's one of them. So if you put money in a hedge fund, even if the fund invests only in debt instruments, it's still a pooled instrument and you're getting shares in that pool. So it's treated as if you had invested in equity. And when they decide how much money you have to set aside to pay your claims holders, if you have debt, that's treated much more favorably than if you have equity investments. And so even if you have a fund that is nothing but debt, the fact that you own shares in the fund, you don't own it directly, means that you have equity and it's treated differently. One of the solutions is, if you're large enough and you have enough to invest, you can open up what's called a separately managed account, and that belongs to you and somebody's managing it for you. It's not commingled with anyone else's, and you have more control over that. However, it's expensive to set up, and so it's not often used except for very large accounts, or ironically, very small accounts. If you're an up-and-coming asset manager, wannabe hedge fund guy, and you don't have enough clients to make it worth your while to set up a hedge fund and pay for the audits and accounting and everything like that, then you can set up separately managed accounts for your friends and family. And then if you do well enough at that, you can set up a fund. But back to rated note feeders. So this is a pretty common structure. This is from a memo from a law firm. So you have a fund here that's bought a portfolio of loans, and then you create a separate special purpose vehicle. So technically a master feeder structure. So they're going to take money from investors. They're going to put it in the special purpose vehicle and decide to apportion it out at different priorities. They're going to send the funds here and agree to pay it back here. And let's say they've agreed to pay back 8% on average on all these, but because they're so good at identifying promising loans that their return is 10%, then they get to keep the difference, and everyone here gets paid. And what may happen is this lower ranked person gets the full 8%, and this top ranked person might only get 3%, but the highest ranked person gets paid everything before the next ranked person gets paid anything. And then you keep going down and down. So if there's any losses, the ones at the bottom who are getting paid the most will be the ones who lose. So they're getting a higher return, but less guarantee. And the ones at the top are promised less, but they're less insulated from losses. And if you're familiar with The Big Short, that was one of the plot points. And they call that a waterfall. So the people at the top get paid first before anyone below gets paid. And the returns are higher below, but the risk is greater. So what's clever about these rated notes is that you have in organizations like S&P or Moody's rank these different tranches for a fee, of course. And so an insurance company who might not be allowed to, for instance, invest in something less than AA can invest in these two, but not these. Whereas if these loans were all in here, they couldn't invest in it at all, because this is equity and this is equity. But when you slice the obligations like this into fixed payments that are ranked in order of priority, then and rated by a statistically recognized national rating organization, then they become a lot more attractive for insurance companies to invest in because of the way they're treated when calculating their required net capital. So this is from the National Association of Insurance Commissioners. And as you can see, they've sliced and diced this, and these they'll sell to investors. And the equity tranche is owned by the asset manager. So again, they get money from the investors, they buy the assets, they pay everyone off starting from the top. And if there's anything left, they keep the difference here. There's also other reasons they could do this. So if the issuer has a bunch of these and they want to do more, but they don't have investors yet, they might set this up to fund this. And once they have enough of this, and these are sold, they still retain the equity and they might be able to sell that. And sometimes if these are very risky, like subprime loans or something like that, you might find sophisticated risk-seeking investors that were willing to invest in the whole pool of them, but it would be difficult to get an insurance company to invest in these risky assets. So you slice them and dice them like this, and then you sell them a piece of the stack that has a lower return but a lot less risk, and that might be very palatable to them. So this is from that NAIC document and just shows that in a different way. So the higher rated tranches, you've got banks, insurance company, pension funds, endowments. These other tranches, you might get some pension funds and structured credit funds, and then the equity tranches, which are the most risky, you've got a different customer base there. And traditionally, post Dodd-Frank, the asset manager would keep the equity tranche because of the Dodd-Frank rules, where you had to have skin in the game, so you couldn't set these up and just sell them to the unwary. You had to keep some of the risk yourself. But there was a court ruling in 2018, I believe, that exempted BSLs, which are broadly syndicated loans, from that rule. So it opened up the possibility to sell this tranche to other people and helped out a lot of smaller people who wanted to get involved in this game because they wouldn't have to keep their money tied up in this. They can just sell the whole thing. So if you have any questions on that, just leave them below. And if there's any interest, I'll do another video or two on this. It's a very complicated area, especially with regard to the accounting treatment and net capital. But comment below and leave any questions below. And don't forget to like and subscribe if you've gotten some value out of this so that you can see future videos. Here's my favorite part, the disclaimer. I'm a lawyer, but I'm not your lawyer. Anything you see on here is for educational and informational purposes only. If you have a specific question about your specific circumstances, seek your own legal counsel for those questions. Nothing here creates an attorney-client relationship between me and you. I am not your lawyer. Okay, got it? Have a great day, everyone.